Three,
Hey
two,
all, isn't
one.
this a lovely evening today? Well, it's about to get even better. This conversation is on one of the most sought after passive income sources online, which is starting your own teaching career. I've been teaching people online more than 3 years at this point, and mind you, Chris has been in business for more than 5 years at this point. We do have some valuable tips and tricks to share with you, and our experience is going to help you get started. And we'll also provide you with a complete roadmap so you can take the first step right after watching this video. So, Chris, like I mentioned, I've been doing it 3 years at this point, and I said you've been doing it over 5 years. Was I right about that?
Yeah, you're right. I started on 2020 during the quarantine.
I think that was a perfect time to start, but for some reason, the idea like never crossed my mind that early. I started in the year 2021, I guess, at the turn of the year 2021. I'm not really sure about the exact time, but it was around that time. And also in the year 2020, I was completing my high school.
Mm,
I hadn't completed high school back
yeah,
then, so it was one of the reasons why I wasn't looking for any opportunities to make some money.
yeah,
What about you? What were
yeah.
you doing? Like, had you completed your education back then?
Yes, I was starting uh like my first job after finishing my college, and then we had the COVID and quarantine, so I stopped working with that company. It was a in-person job. So how everybody were, um, how could I say, like we were in home
Oh,
without,
you're working remotely? You're
Mhm.
working from home.
Yeah, we were at home, but I had no job, so I was looking for way
Oh,
to,
during the pandemic.
yeah,
Yeah,
during
we
the
were all
pandemic.
quarantined. We were
Hmm.
all home.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, we were all
yeah.
home.
So I needed money because you have to buy food, you have to help your parents, and I just talking to my boyfriend. He had a cousin that she had been teaching online for about maybe 8 years. So he told me about it, but I didn't know that we can do this as a job. Um,
Mm.
and after that, I did my research and I found Reply. So I started teaching. I think being an online tutor is something that is helpful for people that cannot, for example, um, if you don't have car in my city, is something difficult, the transportation. So
Same.
it is 100% better working from home because you don't have to spend money on having a ride, or maybe spend money buying food outside. So working from home is something that change your mind and help you save.
100%. But then when you had this in-office job, you were working as some kind of digital designer, I guess.
Hmm.
Am I right about
Yeah,
that?
I was
Website designer or
hired.
something like that?
I was hired to be a an assistant of the marketing, uh,
Mm.
of the manager, marketing
We
manager.
could, yeah, we could definitely spend some time talking about your first job. But then, how about this crossover, Chris? This was a weird crossover. You know what I mean? You went from being a web designer to teaching Spanish online. How did you get this idea? Did you like always wanted to teach people, or like you thought you could be a good teacher? What was about that?
Yeah, so when I started teaching, I didn't know anything about teaching, but I think I haven't told you this, but since I was a child, I always played that I was a teacher.
Oh, me too. When you played house, I became the
Yeah,
teacher.
yeah, I was the teacher, and my brother hated me because this was my that was my favorite play, but he he didn't want to have the same experience that he was having at his school at
Oh,
home.
sure.
So I
Sure.
always wanted to play that I was a teacher. I remember I had always some boards. Um, and I think that was something part of my personality. And my first class was difficult, but then I realized that to teach, you have to create like a character each time, or every, like before our classes, we have to change our mind, or yeah,
According
or
to the student you're about to
uh-huh.
teach.
Yeah, and you are like faking, but you don't have to show that. Like maybe you can
Mm,
be having a bad day or some preoccupations, but when you start teaching, you have to be another person. I prepared myself before each class. I was watching some videos before my classes to know how to explain some things. Even if Spanish is my mother language, I needed to have the knowledge on some grammar points. So that was something that
mm,
I studied at the university, but I didn't study my language as a second language. I just studied the grammar, or in a way to communicate, but not in a way to
teach
learn
people.
it from, yeah. and and when we have students, we are talking, or we are teaching people that want to, more than knowing grammar, they want to be able to understand it and
Mm,
speak it, not just
mm,
the
mm.
the deep, in a very deep way.
Yes,
What
I
about
totally.
you? Did you
Yes, wonderful.
How you did it? Like how was your first class, and what did you?
Yes, yes. I'm gonna tell you all about it. So I'm gonna spill the beans on this man. The first lesson that I did was on this Indian platform.
Mhm.
And I signed up as a tutor. I got in my first try. I was really happy, and they were not going to pay me a good deal of money. Until then, I did not know like the industry standard. I did not know what was the price other people were charging for the same job. So I was happy for whatever I was being paid. I was basically being paid peanuts, but I was still happy. I was at least gonna get paid on an hourly basis. Before that, I worked as this voice artist where I got paid monthly. No matter how many hours you put into the work, you're still gonna get the same payment. So this hourly system definitely made me happy. My first lesson was with this 40-ish man who was not ready to cooperate with me at all. And I did not want to come across as a rookie teacher, somebody who was having the first day on job. I wanted to be very teacher-like, very experienced. I didn't want to act amateur, like in the
Yeah.
slightest way. I didn't want to give him the hints or anything.
Mhm.
But still, it did not go particularly well. But that was like not my first lesson. My first lesson that I was gonna do on that platform was canceled by the learner, and I started to panic. I thought, oh my God, what do I do now? Do I get paid for this? You'd obviously have so many questions. Even though I got the orientation and they introduced me to the system and how the platform worked and all of it, but still, when you have to face something in like real world, it is slightly different. So I had too many questions, and then I had two consecutive lessons. The second lesson, which was like by number, it was second, but that was my first real lesson. This 40-ish man came in and he just wouldn't say anything. I was constantly trying to extract some words out of him. He wouldn't give me any response, just like zero responses. And I was trying really hard because I was told by the community there that you have to make the learners speak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like put them on spot, let them take the center stage, let them talk as much as
Mhm.
possible. As a tutor, you're not going to practice your English, you're going to help them, like facilitate them with the
Exactly.
opportunity to practice there. So I kept asking him questions, but he wouldn't respond. And then weirdly enough, he said, can I ask you some questions? And I said, yes, I should have made it super clear that you can ask me any question related to English or grammar per se. But then he said, can I ask you any question? And I accidentally said yes, thinking that he'd be, he'd keep mindful of the morality that you have to follow at a public place, speaking to somebody who you are related to only professionally, he wouldn't keep the moral standards. And he's like wanted to ask me some personal questions, like, how late do you work? I mean, geez, man, what are you gonna do about it? But then I could not quit. I just wanted to jump off of the lesson. To be
Mhm.
honest, I really wanted to
Yeah.
quit the lesson, just like escape the situation. I didn't do it because that was my first time doing a lesson on that platform, and I did not want to, start anything or do any drama. So I just somehow finished my 25 minutes, I guess. And then I was kind of relieved, but then I thought, oh my God, I have to do the same thing, deal with the same kind of people every single day from now
Yeah.
on. So my first lesson was not particularly great. I like to
Mhm.
forget it if I could, because like that was this one black dot on a white page. The rest of my
Yeah.
experience has been amazing. All in all, it's been amazing, and it's still going amazingly. But then when I started as an English teacher, I felt like I did have the knack for teaching. Like you said, even when I played house as a child, I always tried to be this teacher. And I think I do have a knack for explaining most difficult, like really difficult concepts with ease. And I've done it a lot, like every single day when you talk about different difficult stuff. And I also listen to a lot of difficult interviews where the interviewer asks a lot of tough questions. So,
Mhm.
like I was already in the zone, so I didn't have to do something that I'd never done before. So in that sense, I was kind of prepared to be a teacher. But like you said, if I were to teach Hindi, I'll still have to, varnish my Hindi a little bit, polish it so that I can explain everything. Because when you teach Spanish, Chris, this is your first language. You just learn it subconsciously.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the language, and that's how you've learned most of it. You do not know the reasoning behind everything, which is the trick part. Because English happens to be one of my first languages, but obviously I've spent a lot of time learning the grammar and the rote part and all of the rest. So I had it easier explaining the same rules or the same details to my students whenever they had a question. But then still, when I started teaching English, I did realize that I know a lot of things and I do not know the explanation for
Mhm.
many of those
Yeah.
things. That was a part that I needed to work myself upon. I started doing that as I started teaching. But then, as a teacher, if you also write about the point that you put forward that you have to be a different person every time you land into a session. And it basically depends on your student's personality. If your
Mhm.
student's a kid, you have to be a bit kiddish. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Childish, not in a bad way, though, but you have to make them feel comfortable, make them
Mhm.
feel at ease so they can, speak. And this is one of the things that I've felt for so long. When I used to teach adults at the beginning, I kind of felt a bit constrained. You know what I mean? You have to think before speaking. With kids, you can just completely be,
Yeah.
chill and use some slang sometimes and don't watch your mouth all that much. But now it's all the same. Whether I'm teaching an adult or a kid, I try to prepare as much as possible, as much as it is required. And I think I have the equal level of fun. So it's been going amazingly. So I do want to talk to you about your first job, Chris. So when you were working as this assistant of a marketing
Marketing.
person,
Yeah,
what is it
marketing
called?
manager.
Marketing agent?
Marketing manager.
Marketing manager. Okay, so you were the assistant manager on job.
Uh-huh.
Okay, sounds like a big profile to me. That's a great title. Now, you want to tell me something about that job? Did you like it? Was it fulfilling? Did it pay you enough?
Yeah, so I was really excited when I was hired because this was a different experience. I had two jobs before that, but those were internships. So this was my first real job, and they were paying me like $300. In that time, it was good money in Venezuela. Um, and it was the company was a swimwear fabric, swimwear
Mm.
company, and they had like 50 years of experience. I went and I saw the all the women's working, creating beautiful swimwears. And I was not all only in charge of some design tasks, but I will be also taking some photos of the models, um, creating maybe content. I was very excited for those tasks because I always
You've always been good at taking pictures of other
no,
people and
yeah,
yourself.
and
Yeah.
I like those jobs where you are not always doing the same. You can just do
Right.
different things. But I only worked for about 2 weeks before the pandemic. So then they stopped. We have like 3 months without visiting the office, and then we returned. But when we returned, I feel like they don't needed me because
Oh,
yeah, because the amount of
downlight.
the amount of job wasn't the same. So they didn't call me to fire me, but they stopped asking me for
Mm.
anything, and then they were paying me so low, so I needed to do something different.
Okay, so Preply came at a time when you did not have a good job,
Yeah. Prep,
right? And
yeah,
then you
Preply
started
was.
making some money off of
Yeah.
Preply. Yeah,
But
so I started Preply. Go on.
yeah, I want to say that you mentioned something about the payment, and I started the same. Like I was charging $3 per hour at the beginning, and these platforms take their commissions. So at the end of the day, you receive like $1 or $2 per hour. That it was nothing. Um, but
Yeah.
this is one advice that I can say for our listeners, that if you are starting working remotely, that is something that you are going to experience at the
At first.
beginning. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
and you have to be thinking that you are going to increase your
Mm.
um, prices or rates with the time. With yeah,
Yes.
so
As you receive more students.
mhm,
That's how it
yeah,
works with everybody. No matter how great your teaching skills are, you still have to start kind of low in terms of the price so
yeah,
that you can attract some students at first. I mean, when I had my first student on Preply, I'm talking about the first student on this other platform, Preply, where I'm still working as an English tutor. I that experience was amazing. I got to meet this young guy from India itself, and he said, I was charging $3 an hour as well, but I only received $3 an hour for 1 hour, which was my first lesson on Preply. That this
mhm,
guy himself, I think he was being really generous and sweet. Though he said he was being completely honest, he said you shouldn't be charging $3 an hour because he had some experience with other tutors and he said you should
yeah,
totally increase the price. But then I said, "Are you willing to pay me the price?" He said, "No, I am not." I am not going to become a regular here. He
yeah,
had a reasoning. He said, I'm not going to become a regular here. I just want to have this lesson so I can do well in this interview. And later on, I'll decide if I have the finances figured out and I can start
yeah,
continuing lessons with you. Weirdly enough, after 2 weeks, he texts me on Preply asking me for my Instagram or my WhatsApp so he could pay me offline. I mean, geez, man,
yeah,
have a little brain to yourself.
mhm,
That's not possible for me to
yeah,
breach the contract. The contract is that you're going to get paid on the platform itself. And if you cross the line on the contract, then obviously they're going to take you out. So
yeah,
I did that. I
yeah.
could not resist.
That's something about teaching online, that there's some random guys that think that because they are paying for an hour of class, they can buy you or they can buy your
Oh,
attention. And
definitely.
yeah, I had these experiences as well, but I had like 2 or 3 times. And once I had one that this random guy from, I don't know if he was from Ukrainian or another country, I don't remember now. And we had like 2 or 3 classes and everything was okay. But then once I was teaching and my brother passed behind me, and I just tell him like, I'm teaching, just be quiet, don't say anything because I'm teaching. And this guy thought that I was asking my boyfriend or
Oh,
yeah, he thought that I was asking him for height, to be
oh,
height.
I know where this is going.
Yeah,
I
because
know it.
he thought I was feeling something for him. And
Oh,
this
this is crazy.
yeah, and then
This is
he
crazy.
stalked me. He found my TikTok, my Instagram. He was following me on each social media. Um, and then once he sent me some random emails, very long, saying like, I wanted to bring you from being poor. I
Oh,
saw I saw your
that is.
closet and I know you are poor. What?
Oh, the same guy, the closet guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the memery on this. I think we should make some memes on this. This is
Yeah.
amazing. Like, obviously, he thought that you were beautiful. And like I think a part of beauty has to do with the clothing that you have on.
Mm-hmm.
He liked you the way you looked. You know what I'm saying? So he
Yeah.
obviously liked what you were wearing. And if good clothes come out of the poor looking old wardrobe, what is your problem? Do you know?
No,
I'm trying to make a
no,
chaotic
he
idea
didn't
clear
look my
here.
clothes. He saw my closet behind.
Oh, he like no, but I'm trying to say something different here. I
Yeah.
know this is a bit of a stretch. He obviously liked you for the way you looked. You
Uh-huh.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's suppose he liked you for your looks. And like a big part of the looks is decided by what you're wearing at the time. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
if good clothes can come out of that old wardrobe, then don't bother with the wardrobe. If you think it's a bad looking cabinet, this is like very funny, and that's why I'm trying to make a joke about it. But then
Yeah.
this person deep down is crazy. He shouldn't
Yeah.
have said any of what he said, but then it's good that we're laughing about it. You know what I'm saying? You can laugh it out.
Yeah.
And he thought
Um,
that your brother was your
yeah,
boyfriend,
he saw that he was my boyfriend.
and you were trying to hide this connection that you had built with him from your boyfriend, so you could start two timing. You know what I'm saying? Like so
Mhm.
that your boyfriend who is not your boyfriend,
Yeah.
the person who he
Yeah.
thought is your boyfriend would not know
Uh-huh.
about this new connection that you've been
Yeah.
developing
In
with the
his
student.
mind,
Oh,
he had an story that I wasn't.
completely crazy. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. No, it does happen. Like I've met some students like that as well, but I always kind of feel like I've had things under control by God's grace because you give lessons online. Nobody can contact you in person. That
Mm-hmm.
is one of the great qualities of online teachership, that
Yeah.
you're not gonna bump into someone on the road. Fat chance that you're gonna see somebody ever in person.
Yeah.
But then if they get your Instagram or they get your email or your number by chance, then they can try to contact you
Yeah.
like I don't know, like some kind of serial killer, and you did not even know what they are. I've had these experiences as well, but like I said, everything's been under control always. I've never had to, talk about this with my parents or anything. Never too serious. I try to cut those people off. And as girls, you just like get the vibes. If you think
Mhm.
this guy is not here for genuine reasons, you'll
Yeah.
get to know about it. They might think that they're being players and that they're not giving off that player vibes. But then, as girls, I do think that we have this innate quality of differentiating the vibes.
Yeah.
You know what this person's up to.
Totally.
What they're thinking.
Yeah.
So even though I've had a couple of students like that, but I did continue talking to those students up until the very last minute of our session because they'd paid for the session. I gave them a full lesson, and after that, I either reported them to the
Mm-hmm.
support or I blocked them instantly because I did not want
Yeah.
to have another meet with them. It would be
Yeah.
nightmarish.
Yes. Yeah. And if you and like why they force it? If you are going to fall in love, it's something that could happen, but why are you forcing that feeling?
Yeah, 100%. They need to understand this real bad.
I think I didn't
That's,
told you
yeah.
about one of the ones that I don't fell in love.
You told me about it. I
Did I?
know. You told me. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
well,
also sent me a photo.
we can talk about it in another video because it's a long story.
One.
But we
For
could,
sure, for sure.
I like to close this talk mentioning some tips for maybe
Yes.
people that want to start teaching online because it's not always just
Yeah.
random guys.
Yeah, no, 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 no. Like once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did want to talk about the process, the hiring process on Preply. I think it is pretty simple. You don't have
Mhm.
to go through, I don't know how it happened with you, but with me, I didn't have to go through an in-person interview or anything like that. You just have
Yeah.
to start your profile, put up a good video of yours, and then
Yeah.
do all the
Mhm.
writing stuff. Once you're done with the video and the writing part, then you undergo a process of selection, I guess. Then I filter out the best profiles, and if your profile stands out, that's how you get in. So my number one tip for anybody looking to start Preply is that you really have to work on your video, and in the video you have to come across as a confident tutor. No matter how much you know, that comes in the layer stages, right? It unfolds with time. But if you want the students to come book lessons with you, you have to inspire some confidence in them, and the easiest way you can do it, this is pretty old school, speak a bit louder. Just that. Do you have any
Yeah.
tips on how they can start a
Yeah.
Preply or any other
Uh-huh.
platform?
Yeah, you said don't act as an amateur and
Yeah, for
to
sure.
do
That's
yeah.
important.
And to do that you have to prepare you always before each class. Try to ask some questions to your students at before having your first class to be
Mhm.
ready for what they are going to ask you or for their levels.
Mm.
And
Some of
and
these platforms, Chris, like
uh,
they have a placement test which can tell the learner and the tutor the level of the student.
yeah,
So
but
the placement
sometimes
test
they
really
don't
helps.
do it.
Some
Sometimes they
students
don't
don't
do
take
it.
the test, you're
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
I always ask my students to take the test.
Oh yeah, that's another point. Ask
Yeah,
them
ask them to
ask
take a test.
yeah. And
Mhm.
the last thing I want to say is if you are teaching, it's not about you, it's always about your student. And they are going to give you the resources for you to build your classes or for you to help them. So let them flow, but
Yeah,
always be catching um, maybe their strengths, be always open to know or to, yeah, you have to
they're
analyze your
improving
student
here.
to be a
Yeah,
good teacher.
100%. One, like single-mindedness about each student does help.
Hmm.
It's not a lot of work, let me tell you. It is not, but you do have to have a feeling for what your student really wants. And if you're able to
Hmm.
deliver that, you're gonna gain a lot of regulars pretty
Yeah.
soon.
I remember that
Okay.
sometimes I had some students that just wanted to talk because they don't have anyone to practice. And
Mhm.
it's easy, just talk and let them
Talk to
ask them
them.
questions. You are going to be very good asking questions after
Oh,
teaching.
yeah, want to become a teacher? Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you're right. Uh-huh. I'm always interviewing people.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I think we had a great chat again, a really productive conversation, and a lot of people are going to benefit from it. We'll give it an end here. We'll be back with another video as soon as possible. Until then, enjoy this one and share it with your friends and drop some comments as usual.
Yeah. Comment.
Okay?
Yeah, if you are a prep lead tutor, drop some comments about any doubts or maybe share with us any fun story with any of your students. We'll
Just know 100% if you're a properly tutor, we're related. Just know that we are related work-wise, right?
Well,
Okay.
bye bye.